It's the Boss in the Sauce Show right back at you today. And I got my guy, the OG, the Sauce, Mr. BigRagoo in the house with me today. How you feeling, BigRagoo?
Hey, DJ. We're going to talk about the SEC today, right, my man? And then break the conference down and do what we normally do. Now, Mr. was my dad's, but I'm your friend, so you just call me the Sauce, baby.
The sauce. That's what's up, man. And you guys know who've been following us about our previews. The season's already started week 1. We still got a couple more previews, so we're going to be bringing those to y'all one by one. Even though the season starts, going to be a little, probably be a little more better look at some of these teams, being that we got some real footage of them. And we're going to be running some footage while we go over some of these teams. Stay tuned to us, the Boss in the Sauce Show, every Thursday, 6 p.m. And also the Who-Bangin Sports Lounge featuring the Boss in the Sauce on Fridays, and that's 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time as well. And most definitely, check out the Boss in the Sauce on the closing line every Saturday morning at, 10 o'clock Eastern?
11 Eastern.
11 Eastern, 9 a.m. 8 a.m. over here where I'm at. I'm all confused, man. It's been a real good weekend for me.
Yeah, man, you've been tearing it up, my man.
It's just a big smorgasbord buffet, and I'm just nibbling off the stuff I like, and I'm kind of comfortable right where I'm at. Hoping I don't bite off too much more than I can chew, but just having fun, man. I'm glad college football is back.
Yeah, it's been real exciting. We had some really good looks on a lot of these games and a lot of good content and putting guys in some decent plays. And it's been a lot of fun so far. Looking forward to the rest of the year, what's coming down.
Oh, man, nothing but incrediblest, if that's a word. Incrediblist, incredibilism, whatever. We're going to be incredible. You best believe that, And it starts all right here on the Boss in the Sauce where we put this work in. When you see us out there on the other shows and whatever, we bring it to the table. When we right here on the Boss in the Sauce, we most comfortable, man. It's just two partners from different sides of the land, just on here expressing how we feel about these teams, hoping that we can do the best to give you guys some insight on what your play should be as the season go on. So let's jump on over into the SEC Conference. And that's the Southeastern Conference right here. Now, there's only one way to start in the Southeastern Conference, and that's with Alabama. Let's go. So you guys know already Saban's coming in right here. Been doing a great job with this team for a while. This year he gets back 6 on offense, 6 on defense. Typical Saban. The guy recruits well. He definitely has another pitcher eliminate as the other pitcher is pouring out. So this guy knows what he's doing as far as running these college system that he got over here. Last year went 14-1 with this team. Lost a incredible championship game against Clemson. They were simply outplayed. But it's 2019 now. This team brings back the quarterback, a couple wide receivers on offense, a couple linemen, and on defense they bring back defensive end, a couple linebackers, and pretty much most of the secondary except for one. So expect the defense maybe to take it up a notch. We definitely know this team right here is going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder after taking the loss in the championship last year. Week 1, as you see up on the screen right here, they played Duke. There's a little look at the wide receiver getting busy out there. I don't know. What you think about this Alabama team, BigRagoo?
Briefly, Nick Saban, what's to say about him, right? He's got all them championship rings on his fingers. They got Tua Tagovailoa. I call him the Flying Hawaiian. He's got all the weapons he needs on wide receivers. Now, you talk about getting a look at game 1. They did lose Jerry Jeudy, who's their number 1 rated receiver, to injury early in that game. So that might have an effect. But, they'll pick up the pieces there. They've got some talented wide receivers to step up. And also at running back position, Najee Harris is a junior. He's probably going to emerge as their top running back. And, Alabama, they do what they do. They're number 1 in scoring overall in total offense. They put the points up. and they'll be right back in the saddle again, in that college football championship race. On the defensive side of the ball, they're normally the defensive juggernaut every year, but there might be a little kink in their armor because with all the depth that they've lost over the years, they usually reload. But this year they're talking like they've been a little bit depleted in depth, because of the NFL, all the drafts that come out and talent they've lost. They're saying that possibly. The look here is the concern in the linebacker core. They're a little thin there, but I look for them to refocus overall and make that run like they usually do. But they're looking to get off to a quick start like they normally do, and their toughest looks are probably going to come like in the middle of the season when they got to play LSU and Mississippi State back to back. Those are two defensive-minded teams. If they get those looks done, maybe even with a one-loss season, they'll be right back in the saddle just because of who they are.
Now, for me, an important note to this Alabama team is something that a lot of cappers did last year, and that was take Alabama first half. And here we go again. Week one, we had a lot of people out there back on Alabama in the first half. We got to remember, guys, that you can't take last year into this year. To a lot of respects in college football, the teams change, whatever. First half was a sinker. This game right here was 14-3 at halftime. They did cover the spread by the end of the game, but I don't think they reached the total in that one, which is something that they did very well last year was getting those totals up. So, hey, Alabama, a team we want to continue to either take them or leave it alone. Not a team that you really want to fade, not often at all.
Yeah.
But they have New Mexico State coming up next, then South Carolina, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU, Mississippi State, Western Carolina, and then at Auburn at the end. From the looks of things, looks like they're going to be undefeated at least till they get to this Texas A&M game, and then we can probably reevaluate that. That's quite a few weeks back down, October 12th. So we got a little time for that. But as far as the team right now, I would say, read the lines and either back them or leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree. I say they'll probably be undefeated till they meet LSU and Mississippi State because those are really too tough. I mean, A&M's no slouch, but look ahead. You're probably right. That's going to be their toughest game out. That's like 6-7 games down the road, right? It's 2, 4, 6. Yeah, 6 games.
Yeah.
That'll be their 7th game. Wow, that's October 12th. But anyways, that's it for me on the Bama squad. How about you?
That's it for me as well. Right here on the Boss and the Sauce. Let's get ready to go over and into the next team on this one. So coming up next, we have LSU, ladies and gentlemen. LSU, this team right here. You want to lead us on LSU? You got anything special? You want me to bring us out there again?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll start it off with LSU. LSU's coming back off a 10-3 campaign last year, 5-3 in the SEC. They got 7 on the offensive side and 8 returners on the defensive side, and they love their coach Ed Orgeron for the 3rd year coming back. The team really loves this guy. They really do. Alumni, everybody. So basically, he's got senior quarterback coming back, Joe Burrow. He's an outside candidate for the Heisman Trophy. Now they got a little different look on the offense this year because they're going to run the RPO offense, which he used to run when he was a kid playing ball in high school and stuff. So this is the first look for him there. To me, I always thought he was more of a pocket style, big type, body passer, but they say he's got talent to run that offense, so we'll see how that goes. And I guess they surprised a lot of people this year. I mean, early on, they did score a bunch of points in their first game of the season, and they seemed like they ran up the score pretty good. Now, they got a running back prospect, John Emery Jr. He was the number 2 nationally ranked prospect to come in the running back role, so they look to get some good offensive production out of him. And their offensive numbers overall in the SEC are pretty average. But overall nationally, they're like top 1/3 scoring. So they got a solid offensive unit, and they'll probably do what they do best there. On the defensive side of the ball, they've always been strong. They did lose Devin White. He was a Buckus Award winner in the draft. He's a first rounder. And cornerback Greedy, I love that name, Greedy Williams, right? He was an absolute shutdown corner. He's gone, but they do have some pretty deep units in the secondary. They rank 5th in the SEC and a top 25 unit overall on defense. So they got some good looks there. They're going to be the big matchup. Obviously, is going to be when they match up with Bama on November 9th. They do have an outside shot to get in the playoffs if they can hold down. I say maybe like a 1-loss schedule, because they're gonna be one of those bubble teams, trying to crack that college playoff system, but they're gonna need some help, and they're gonna, like I said, they'll probably have to beat Alabama when they play them later in the season. I say with this new look offense, and then lots of talent and a solid defense, and they got a pretty doable schedule, I think. If you look at the schedule, I'm not on the page right now, but we'll look at that after when you break it down. But they have a pretty doable schedule, so I really like to look a favorable schedule. We'll see how this new offense works out for them, and then a solid defense unit. They'll definitely be a contender in the SEC West, looking up to Bama, and maybe a top 2 team, top 1, top 2, possibly. So what you think about that?
Now, LSU is a team I really never have a great read on. Their offense kind of switches from year to year. They had Fournette. They were run heavy. They've had players where they've been pass heavy. They've had teams that have been rooted in the defense. It's just all over the place for LSU. I never can get a good grasp on them. But I'm hearing a lot in the media that they expect big things out of LSU. This could be the sleeper team. This could be the team that beats Alabama. All those type of good things about LSU, which is expected out of that conference, But looking into it from a Capper's point of view, now this team responds really well to the coach Orgeron on this one. He's a really good guy. They rallied up to try to save his job several times. He went to LSU. They care about keeping him around. So last year they went to they came out and won 5 games straight, and this year they may do the same. They came out, they did a great job on Georgia Southern, and they made Georgia Southern look like they weren't nothing. But that's a team in their conference to be reckoned with for sure. Even though they only scored 3 points. Let me see here. They scored. They scored, 3 points in the game versus LSU, but that may be a good look towards LSU defense. They've had really strong defenses in the past. Last year, the defense gave up 21.8 points a game. I expect this year for them to bring that down a tad bit. Now, the Achilles heel, as my man BigRagoo would say, is just big teams for this team right here. Last year, their losses came at Florida, Alabama, Texas A&M. They got to win some big games. It's kind of like the Achilles heel for them. The big games is what kind of throws them off a little bit. And maybe that's why I don't have a good read at them, because by the time I watch a good game on them, it's on the big game, and I don't get to see exactly, their good points and stuff. I just always kind of see them struggle. But one thing I must say is that they do play really good defense despite any of those situations, except for when they played Texas A&M with the 72-74. But other than that,
that game there was like a triple overtime game. That was a crazy game. I remember I was sitting at the bar watching that game last year, and you thought you had the game won, then they tie it, then they go for 2, then they, how they do when they go to triple overtime. It was crazy. It was crazy. But that's why that score was so high in that game.
Now, they're being led by a senior quarterback, which is something that, I like that senior quarterback look. That's about it for LSU. Just going to keep my eye on them overall. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play against Texas this weekend. This is more of a shot for Texas to make a statement than LSU to, LSU needs to just come out and handle business for Texas, this could mean a lot to them with a victory in this one. So it's going to be exciting. This is going to be a true test for this team right here. Stay tuned to the Boss and the Sauce, closing line, our hangouts, all that good stuff, because we're probably going to be brushing up on this game a few more times.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yep, no doubt about it. That game's got a lot of different angles and a lot of different. That's another show right there.
Yeah, that's a show in itself right there. Just LSU versus Texas, because a lot of people are high on Texas this year. They had a nice run at the end of the season last year, and a lot of people are high on LSU as well. They got them. Yeah. They said they should be ranked top 5. We'll see when the report comes out this week.
Well, here's the thing that usually goes up with LSU. Usually they start out like in the teens, like 12, 13. And then usually by the third, fourth week, they crack the top 10. They have a key victory in there, or they do something really, really nice. And then they might regress a little bit when they go to play Bama or Auburn, when Auburn was really, really good. But, this year they started out, pretty high. So, and it's going to be a big spot for them coming up this week. So they can either make a big jump, or they can leap back, the other way. So, or they, maintain or just move ahead a little bit. We'll see. It's coming up this weekend. We'll be talking about it.
That's it right there on the Boss and the Sauce. I don't have really no extra words on LSU. We want to keep this party going, or you got anything else to say on this squad?
Nah, that's it. We'll keep rolling.
Well, let's keep it going. Now, let's roll on over into Texas A&M on this one. Now, Texas A&M, team I always like, just always like the team just for being them, those Texas football strong teams, the Longhorn, Texas A&M, and they recruit well from California too. Quite a few people that got picked up and went over to Texas A&M. Now, this year, Texas A&M, they get back 7 on offense, 4 on defense, and this coach over here, Jimbo Fisher, I know someone who doesn't have really kind words to say about this guy, but despite our opinions to some of these things, he's over here at this Texas A&M squad. He got a decent squad coming out this year. He's got a junior quarterback that he's working with. Now, last year, Texas A&M was 9-4. They lost to Clemson. They lost to Alabama, Mississippi State, and Auburn. Another team, just the big games just seem to eat them alive. But last year they averaged 36 points a game on offense. They gave up 25.3 games on defense, ranked number 47 defense. They ranked number 19 offense. Now, this year is going to be a difficult year for them. They started off with Texas State. They go right to Clemson next game. Lamar, then Auburn, Arkansas, then Alabama. Just one thing, I don't think they really get a good chance to take a good breath of fresh air. I expect probably the same thing, losses to the big teams again this year. Although I wish that they will at least wake Clemson up. Clemson, to me, they played a decent game last week, but they could be a lot better in a bunch of areas, and they need to play that one team that's going to shake them up a little bit. So I'm looking at the Aggies this weekend with all optimism, hoping that they do something. What you got on this Texas A&M, the sauce?
Yeah, man. So this team here, Jimbo Fisher, my buddy, a former FSU guy, second-year coach at A&M. And he wants to put his mark. This is really his first year because he had under his belt to recruit kids. So he's going to progress there and, put his mark on the team that way. And he brings back, like you said, the junior quarterback, Kellen Mond. He's got average numbers, offense in the conference. He's a pretty good little quarterback, top 25 offense overall. And Jimbo, he likes to score, and he likes to establish, some type of offense. That's his forte. Now they got a little inexperience on the O-line this year. They're going to have those struggles there. They're loaded with a bunch of junior and freshmen, so but the skill positions, they get back some pretty decent players overall. And then the running back, he's got this sophomore. The kid's name is Jashawn Corbin, a UCF transfer. So, and then he's got another power back. excuse me, Jashawn Corbin and UCF transfer Quarterson Richardson. He's the power back. So he's got some youngsters to work with. So, and that's probably good for him because as his team's going to grow over the years, with his recruits, he'll establish his style of play that way. On the defensive side, they got Mike Elko. He led a top 3 run defense in the nation last year, and he looks to bolster that this year. Then the weakness of the defense is against the pass. That's where they really, really struggle, and that's where they have their issues. Now, last year when they played Bama, Clemson, they played a close game, 26-28, and you said, they're coming at that look this weekend. So, maybe that youth might hurt them a little bit there because Clemson is a machine. So I don't know what the number is. I don't have a look-ahead number on that game, but, that could be a tough spot for them early. I like this team. They're going to compete. They're going to be in games. And I think their schedule-wise, they do have pretty much the same look as they have last year, but I think the schedule might be a little bit softer out of conference. They went 9-4 last year and 5-3 in conference. So if they can stay around those numbers, they'll probably be playing in a New Year's Bowl day game somewhere, it's New Year's Six Bowl possibly if they get to the outside looking in on a national championship, on the college playoff picture. But that's a tough day. The SEC West is tough. You got LSU, you got Alabama, then you got A&M. So they're probably going to be like top 3 in that conference. I doubt that they're going to win it, but I think they might take a big swing. If they beat Clemson, then who knows what happens next.
Absolutely. Now this is a team myself that I say I really Texas A&M, they have size. Sometimes they have speed. This is a team I want to take a look at and see some film on them. This right here we just put up is this week's game versus Texas State. And I just want to take a look, look at them a little size-wise. Look at some of the sets they got out there. Like right there, little toss to the back. Good blocking up front. Guy, that back's pretty fast too, but looked like he was a little light as he went down. But yeah, this is a team that you gotta really go through with a fine-tooth comb and look at how they're gonna match up against this Clemson team. The Clemson team coming up this week, that guy missed a block. The Clemson team coming up this week has a really good defense, and they have a lot of depth on that defense. So I don't know. I seen the line right now is sitting at minus 18.
That's a big number for a game like that.
Yeah, that's a big number considering that last year, it was a close game.
Yeah, so that tells you something right there alone. Yeah. But yeah, they were really bad against the pass. I think they were like ranked 98th nationally. So that's, and I know Clemson, they could do it all. They could throw it, run it, shove it down your throat, whatever they want to do with it. So whatever's going to work for them, they're going to go ahead and make that happen. But speaking for this team in the SEC wise, their schedule, 8, like I say, 8-4, 5-3 in conference. Some of the schedule might take some of those W's away from him this year. The out of conference games he'll probably get some good looks at, but some of the tougher in conference games, with losing 3 in conference, and they lost 1 out of conference last year. And this is an out of conference game too. So they could be kind of right back in the position they were last year, looking at 8-4 possibly, or maybe 7-5. We'll see.
Yeah, I think with that being said, though, BigRagoo, this might be one of the teams that you want to take with the double-digit points, just as like a spread buster, because they're never going to get a true grip on this team, especially if they try to evaluate them stats-wise, because they're going to have to play Texas State with the numbers was high this week. Then they're going to play Clemson. The numbers are going to go low. Then they're going to play Lamar. The numbers are going to go high. They're going to play – and so it's going to bounce back and forth. You might get a good double-digit line on them as a dog. I would probably lean taking them plus the 18 in the Clemson game, but we have to study some more tape of them as we, got it up for y'all right now. They're playing Texas State, so they look wonderful out there right now. But size-wise, playing together as a group, they do look like they have that intensity that could cause another 28-26 game against this Clemson team. So keep a good look on Texas A&M. It's been a long time coming from them. like you said, the season schedule this year is all the way against them, and we're looking for some offset odds because of the scheduling.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's my take on Texas A&M. You got anything you want to add to that, BigRagoo?
No, I'm good on that one.
Absolutely. So let's once again, let me remind you guys, if you don't subscribe, hit the subscribe, the notify. We got a lot of content coming out each and every week. We got the Boss and the Sauce show, which comes out on Thursdays, so you can get a line on this quick, fast, and in a hurry. If you've got a busy schedule on the weekend, just come visit us on Thursdays, And if you was a little busy on Thursday, you can catch us on Friday. But, Friday, we got our guards down. We got a lot of special guests coming through, and we out there just doing our thing, having a good time. So, if you missed those two, definitely catch us on the closing line on Saturday. That's
the premiere show.
That's like the premiere show. There you go. A good way to put it, BigRagoo.
Yeah. Well, don't forget we have Ian Cameron and Drew Martin. So we got two really sharp guys that are to sharpen us up. I mean, we're sharp too. We're not no dummies. We put the content out there. We know how to cap. But with those guys coming in chat and busting them games down, that's like a the creme de la creme show to watch. So, but this show ain't so bad either. I give us 2 thumbs up for what we put out each and every week, my man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I must commend both of us on last night's game because I had my wife. We was gonna watch the game, so I told her, "Hey, take a look at our previews, both of them. The short versions that we have." And I said, "You come back and tell me, where you're gonna bet right there." So last night she ended up taking the over because we was hollering over with Houston. And she ended up taking Houston as well, plus the points. Right. And she got a push on the parlay. She got a push and a win. So good day at the house. Another good successful story for the Boss and the Sauce show, which they coming out of the woodworks. I mean, they hitting me up in my DMs and everything. Great play, Big Boss. And I like to let each and every one of y'all know, man, I appreciate that. It's the enthusiasm. It's the energy. These seasons are 16, feels like 20 weeks, We got to have some camaraderie with each other, keep that energy level up, and keep that enthusiasm to keep coming back at y'all. But let's move over to this next team in the SEC Conference Preview 2019 right here on the Boss and the Sauce show. Let's take a look at Auburn. Now, Auburn had a big game yesterday versus Oregon. I'm going to bring those highlights up in a minute. But this Auburn team, pass-heavy team, had to come out and shoot it out the second half with the Oregon team. Really looked really nice coming together towards the end, but I think the SEC size factor kind of got a hold to Oregon in the fourth quarter. But this team is exciting, the exciting team right here to watch this year. They brought back 6 on offense, 7 on defense. They got the wide receiver Seth Williams on offense. On defense is where they really lock it down, though. They got a nice defensive line. They got a few people in coverage, keep those deep balls down. And this year looks kind of promising for them. They got a pretty easy schedule. They got this play Oregon on the neutral turf. They got Tulane coming up next, Kent State. May have a little problem with Texas A&M, but we just talked about Texas A&M. They're going to be flip-flopping back and forth from good games and bad games. Then they see Mississippi State. They got to see Florida, and they got to see Georgia and Alabama within the last 3 games. The last bit of the season is going to be pretty tough for this team, but yeah. I'm rooting Auburn. Like my guy Drew Martin. Auburn alumni, I'm backing them for these first few weeks. Definitely coming up against Tulane and Kent State, depending on the number. What do you think about this Auburn team, Sauce?
Yeah, I like Auburn. The tough, gritty team. Like you say, up front 7. I'll start off with the defense, but the front 7 is like probably one of the best in the country without a doubt. I mean, they bring it. You know, they're gonna play hard. They're gonna come after you. They're gonna dig in. You know, they're gonna get the job done there. That's the strength of this defense. I mean, strength of the team is the offense, but not to sell the offense short. You know, that quarterback, that youngster Bo Nix, man, he really put it out there. I mean, he won that job. He going into camp, you know, he wasn't the favorite to get the job, but he wound up getting the job, and he kind of fits right into Gus Malzahn's style of play. There's another guy named Bo that was a pretty good player, and his dad was the quarterback for Auburn back in the day, also. So, but you know, he's playing where his dad went to school. There's a lot of history there, and you know, he's got some top wide receivers. The kid that Seth Williams that caught that TD pass, you know, he's stepping up into the role of the lead receiver, and Anthony Schwartz is another kid they're going to be looking to also to get the ball down the field. But overall, look for this team. You know, the schedule is kind of brutal. You know, they lost. They went last year. They went 8-5, and they had 4 losses. You know, they lost to Florida, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama, all tough teams. 3 of those 4 teams went on to win the bowl games, you know, with Bama losing in the championship game. So, I mean, this team is going to be a gritty team. So this is a team that I'm going to be looking for later on down the year when they got to play those tough games and maybe look at getting points with this team here. You know, not so much to lean on them as a favorite, but maybe checking those numbers out when they play the tougher games. You know, they might be a good defensive-minded, you know, hold it down type in the trenches team to back with points. What do you think?
Absolutely. I like your angle on that one. Definitely a team that you would look in these big games of covering some lines. This team definitely has the makeup to upset a good team. But the thing that I loved about this team the most is when adversity came, they rose to the occasion. They didn't start off pretty good in the first half, and you know they just kind of kept their foot on the gas, continued to do their running game, which opened up the passing game, and you know do what they do best. And it came all together in the second half. And adversity is huge in football. Like it's all about if we were all playing teams that were just so much worse than us, and we were just winning, and we could just pat ourselves on the back, that'll be fine and dandy. But it's not until you reach those teams where things get a little adverse, you have to reach into your trick bags, maybe pull something out that works or don't work, and pull another one out, or continue doing what you do, or stop what you did, adjusting. Those are the key elements of football. And this team showed it right here, game number 1 versus Oregon, that they could pull a rabbit out the hat, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And they got the victory in this one, and I really commend that. I'm a big guy on leadership. I'm a big guy on teams that are gelled and play together. That was really impressive to me, and I was kind of on Oregon. I didn't bet the game, but I like what Oregon has to offer for the Pac-12 this year, and I like the coach from a coaching standpoint and what they're doing with their offense. And that they actually playing defense for a change in Oregon is a big deal. And
you mentioned that. You mentioned that you like their defense, you know, earlier when we broke this game down on the show Saturday on Closing Line, and we went to the round table, and none of us were going to be on any of this on the side or total, but we all agreed that, you know, it would be a great game to watch, and we just sit back and enjoy a great game. And guess what? We got that in this game. I think you've seen the kid Bo Nix grow up on national TV as a true freshman, lead that team to victory. And going forward, you know, I think there's good things on the horizon for this kid. You know, he's going to have a pretty bright future. Hopefully, he stays healthy and he enjoys a nice college career at Auburn.
Now, what do you think about them coming home to play Tulane this week coming up? Let me see if they got a line out on that yet. What do you think about their mindset, BigRagoo? Like not so much the X's and O's, but what do you think about the temperament of the team going into this game coming up against Tulane? Do you find this a spot that we can look and say, you know, they might get a chance to really open up and have some fun?
Well, the thing is, there's no look ahead here because they play Kent State at home after that, and Tulane is nothing to sleep on either. We talked about them earlier in the year too when we broke down the the conference that they're in. So Tulane, I mean, this is a type of game that could have took a little bit out of them emotionally. So you might want to look at this one very carefully. I don't know what the number is, or haven't capped the game yet, but just from experience and looking at these types of games and how these teams come out of these games, this is a game that you might want to look at caution with Tulane, because Tulane, they're a pretty good, pretty underrated squad, and you and I both talked about this team. We might look at them as an opportunity. This might be one of those opportunities we might be looking at Tulane. Who knows?
Well, I see right here the line's up at -19 for Auburn, but Auburn is at home after coming that road trip. Even players that play in high school know, after you come off that road game, that home game coming up that following week, your girlfriend's there, or the one you like is there. All signs are pointing up, and that if you come away with that victory that night, that we're gonna have a good party after that. So I'm always looking for teams that want to open up right there. We did talk about Tulane, but I don't expect Auburn to struggle. I'm just going to be on the edge of my seat with them open up. Like you said, Tulane's a tough opponent. Coaching-wise, you go right back to the locker room and you start coaching right away on the next team, not looking past this team. And
sure.
I don't know. Could be a close game in that one. That number is kind of high. We'll see which way it goes later on in the week, but I'm just sitting for them to open up. If they don't open up against Tulane, we'll definitely get a blowout win against Kent State. So we'll see how that goes. Any last words on Auburn and BigRagoo?
No, all good here, brother. We'll move on to the next one.
Right on, right here on the Boss and the Sauce. Let's move up to the next team, which is Mississippi State. Can you start on that Mississippi State one for me, BigRagoo?
Yeah, sure. So Mississippi State last year, they finished up 8-5. 4-4 in conference, so they won all their out of conference games. Now they bring back six on offense and only three on defense. So that's kind of a rough spot for them there. I'm gonna get over to their page here and try to look at some of the player personnel. But okay, so on the offensive side, they were number 2 in the SEC on the run game. Okay, so but overall. Offensively speaking, they were ranked like 10th in the SEC in scoring, and they were ranked 10th yards per game, like 397 yards per game. An area they need to definitely improve is on the pass. So they look to a new junior quarterback. Kentanian Thompson is his name. He's a run-style type quarterback, and he's only got like about a 47% pass completion rate. So he wasn't a starter last year, but he's kind of stepped into that role this year. And they're next to last. With the pass, they rank 112th nationally, and they're next to last in the conference on the pass. So they definitely have room for improvement there. Now, the defense is the bread and butter on this team. Now, if I tell you the defense stats, you won't believe it. This team was number 1 in conference in scoring against, number 1 in conference rushing, number 1 in conference passing, and number 1 conference overall in defense. And they were number 2 nationally. So this team lives on the defensive side of the ball. Now, they've only given up they've 92 yards per game on the run and 13-point scoring. So their defense has kept them in all their games. And I think it might catch up to them this year because, they did lose some talent on defense. And they're going to have to try to replace a lot of that talent. With only 3 returning starters, it's going to be a tough spot for them to kind of repeat. Like I said, 8-5, 4-4 in conference. It's going to be a tough look for them to come back. Now, Bob Shoop, who's the defensive coordinator, he's a well-traveled guy. He's coached. I think he was ex-head coach in Colorado and done some time at Penn State, if I'm not mistaken. But overall, this guy knows how to coach defenses. And I don't know, with the 3 returning starters on the defensive side and the schedule they start out, they played Louisiana this past week. They go to Southern Miss, then Kansas State, then Kentucky, then at Auburn. Those are their first 5 looks. So they got a pretty decent schedule to come up against. They start out a little light early. with those 3 games, they might be 3-0 by the time they meet Kentucky, and then they finish up. They got Abilene Christian, Ole Miss at the game at the last game of the season. Then they got the sandwich games in the middle. That's going to be the tough row for them. They got Auburn. They could maybe beat Tennessee, LSU, a loss, take Texas A&M a loss, maybe win Alabama a loss. So they're probably looking at about a 500 ball club, I'm thinking, this year. I think they overachieved a little bit last year on account of defense, a little young in offense. And like I say, Jay Moorhead, this is his second year as a coach. And not a bad first year for him because, with that defense, he was pretty lucky to have what he had there. So I see a little bit more struggles from this squad this year, just because of the youngness that they're going to have on the offensive side, trying to make the improve there, and then losing that defensive talent that they had last year.
Well, I see on the defensive side of the ball, they do have this quarterback, Cameron Dantzler. And the cornerback coach over there says this in the Lindsay magazine. He says, based on everything he's doing now, I would say he's the best corner in the country. So even though they may have lost a few players, they still have a stout D. Teams that pride themselves in defense, that's just what they do. They also brought in the top newcomer defensive tackle Nathan Pickerton, and he's a transfer coming over there. He's 6'4", 300-pounder. And he just has to adjust to the speed of the SEC. And that guy should put a dent in over there, too. Now, like you said, last year, they only let up 13.2 points per game on the defense, but they only scored 28.5 points a game. Now, this year, judging from the first game that just took place, looks like the offense is doing a little bit better. And the defense, like you said, is slipping up a little bit. They had, I think it's 38-28 victory this week against Louisiana. So I'm saying don't go back to your old thoughts of this team. Look at this team moving forward, and looks like they're coming to play a little more offense this year. So I would probably keep my eye open to some overs with this team. Looks like the offense is going to have to open it up a little bit more and spread the ball around some in order for them to win these games, being that the defense is not going to be as locked down as they were last year. But shout out to Coach Moorhead, and I like what he's doing over there. Any other thing you got on this team right here, BigRagoo? I'm gonna bring up a little. Up a little film real quick so you guys can take a look at what they look like this past week.
Yeah, I'm like I say, maybe they overachieved a little bit last year because how stout that defense was. But I still look for this team to, perform pretty well overall. Just maybe a few less W's because of the scheduling and the evening out of the defense and then the catch ahead. But like you said, the offense, maybe they are stepping up a little bit. Like I say, the running game has always been a plus for these guys, and then maybe. Maybe the defense, maybe regresses a little bit, but still, they have a lot to work with. Like I say, the quarterback, and the main thing on the football team is always the quarterback and the coach, right? Those are like the two cogs in a wheel that kind of get you off center to get you rolling in the right direction. So if they can get this youngster to kind of, play a more balanced type of game, because if they're going to just focus on the run where they know he can't pass, and then they're going to lock him down. But if they could develop a little passing game. And looking at the starters coming back, they do have 2 receivers coming back, wide receivers, and they got a senior tight end, so maybe they can get some balance there. And like you said, they did score, 38 points last game, even though it was against Louisiana. Now they got Southern Miss coming up and then Kansas State. So those are 3 games that they could build confidence with. If they come out of those 3 games 3-0, and they get some offensive production, maybe going into that first game against Kentucky, the first conference game, maybe they have a little bit of confidence, a little bit of swag going into that game. And that game will be at home also, by the way. So maybe it might be a good look to the under because Kentucky is a good under team. And if we'll just have to see how they do coming into that first game versus Kentucky. That'll tell the tale going into conference play.
Well, I'm looking to capitalize on the line setters and those people with those computer generated formats right here, and I'm hoping that they keep the numbers down. And I'm looking to take the over. From what I'm watching on film right here, I see a lot of stuff on defense like missed tackles, not wrapping up. What I like to call catch and chase. That's when the when the defense basically plays the zone and they just watch the people catch the ball and then they try to chase them down. So I see a lot of catch and chase. But the thing that I do like, another part why I'm on the over is this quarterback on the offensive side. He's sized up appropriately. He's a nice and tall quarterback. He's long. He can run a little bit and move around. This guy might be interesting to watch for the rest of the season. But from what I'm watching so far on the tape, I don't see a team that's really, really tightly gelled together. People missing assignments. People are not really playing together as a team. Football is a chain link fence. You got to have every link doing what it needs to be doing in order to have a high success rate. So I expect them to take some losses here and there. The schedule they got this year is fairly decent, but like you said, they have the part where they got to we forgot to add that one too. The crunch time is a little worse than we thought, BigRagoo, because you got to consider they're about neck and neck with this Kentucky team, and that's going to be a big game for them right there.
Yeah.
And then right after that, they at Auburn, at Tennessee. They get to play LSU at home, and then they turn back around. They got to play at Texas A&M and at Arkansas. And judging from last year, they took some of their losses on the road, the Kentucky game, the LSU game, and also the Alabama game. So they don't play those big teams well on the road as well. But definitely my best insight on this team is going to be on the totals because we're going to get some jaded lines out there until the market catches up with the offense being the strong part of the team this year opposed to the defense.
Yeah, well, they get Kentucky, they get LSU and Alabama at home. That's good, and then they get a weaker look at two winnable games. Actually, Tennessee and Arkansas. They're not world beaters. They could probably, if they play decent and play tough, they can maybe win those games on the road. So, and maybe who knows? Maybe they might get lucky and beat an LSU or an A&M. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed in the SEC is that they got a lot of teams that play well on any given day. So another one of those teams you might want to look out. Like I said, with a quarterback like they got on the offense that has the skill set and the size to do some damage, he can give some of these guys a run for their money later on in the season.
Yeah.
But you got any last things to say about this? M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I, state game team right here?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to take off the state, and we're going to go to the other crooked letter team in the same state. Ole Miss is next.
There you go. M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I. Is up next right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. And we having fun today, man. Once again, don't forget to hit the subscribe and the notify because we have a lot of content comes out all the time. And you can also catch us every week on the Boss and the Sauce Show at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which will be 9 p.m. on the Eastern Time. And this Boss and the Sauce Show is where you get the Boss and the Sauce live, uncut, direct, the real deal, all of that. Not to say that we lacking anything in those other places, but sometimes on the closing line we gotta go along with everybody else's, what their format is. But on the Boss and the Sauce Show, we live and direct. We kind of do whatever we want, and then you can also catch us on Fridays. If you're not doing nothing on Friday, you hanging around the house. Hop on in here with the chat. We're welcome to bringing you on as a guest. We're always going to have a lot of our friends on there. You can expect to see a lot more Wham. You also see Noli Knows as the season go on and basketball comes in. You're going to see some Ski Profit and a bunch of new faces. I'm really interested in getting all my new faces out there. Bookie Lover Crew. We're going to do something special for horse racing with my man Don Ricci. For the Breeders' Cup. So we got it locked and loaded. So I suggest that you hit that subscribe button and also to notify so you know when we coming on with the new stuff. But let's jump right on over into this Mississippi team, this Ole Miss team. You want to start on this one, or you want me to jump on it?
I can get into it.
Go ahead and start on this one.
Yeah, Mississippi 5-7 last year, 1-7 SEC play. So they got some work cut out for them if they're going to compete in conference play this year. 3-8, the numbers 3 on the offensive side returners and 8 on the defense. Okay, so last year this team wound up having the number 1 passing game in the SEC. That's hard to believe, but actually they did, and that's why we kind of lean towards the over in that in that Memphis game with them last week. But I that was one of the plays that I was kind of on and didn't catch. But I think you were on the Memphis side, if I remember correctly. So that was a nice look by you, right? Did you have the Memphis W in that game?
Well, I stayed off of that game, but I did make mention on the closing line that I was liking Memphis, but that Memphis look strictly came from what we capped on the preview for Memphis on the Boss and the Sauce. That was all I knew. I really hadn't unveiled the Mississippi's offense, defense, nothing. So I was totally off of that game. But I see you and Drew Martin. Y'all like that game right there. Yeah. I kept tuned to it though. It wasn't what we thought it was going to be. But,
no, that wasn't my point.
Yeah, Memphis definitely showed what they're working with though.
Yeah, but to stay on point with Mississippi, they had the number 1 passing game, and they were like number 2 in yardage, and that didn't show up last week. And that's where you kind of put the cart ahead of the horse, like you say. Last year's last year, and this year's this year. They only have 3 returning starters on offense, so that was part of our. If we would have done our actual breakdown before I looked at the game and just sitting at the round table without really looking into the game in depth, I probably would have been off of that total for sure because of the fact that, they only had a right guard coming back, a tackle, and then a running back. So everybody else is brand spanking new in this offensive scheme. Even though they were the number 1 pass game, they kind of lost all their players, right? So there's like you got a brand new apple cart when you going shopping. You gotta stock the groceries before you can make the meal. So the meal now. The good thing about it, they got Rich Rodriguez, right? And you got a 3rd-year coach coming back, Rich Rodriguez on the offensive side. So you got, and you got a former head coach on the defensive side also as a coordinator. So you got a lot of nice looks there on the coaching, in the coaching scheme to kind of put these kids together. Well, they're going to need that because on the defensive side they were dead last. Too, so that would have been another good look on the Memphis game too. But dead last in the SEC in all the categories, and very close to the bottom nationally in defense. With they rank like 121 in yards per game, 116 in rushing, 113 in scoring, and 111 in pass. So they got a lot of improvements to make on the defense. They bring in Mike McIntyre. That's the Colorado guy I meant to say. You should know about Colorado, right? Out in your neck of the woods. Yeah. So they bring in Mike McIntyre as a defensive coordinator. Now he does get 8 returners on the starter for the defense. He's got some seniors. They got the nose tackle, defensive end, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, and cornerback, all seniors. And they got safeties too. And they got depth at linebacker, so that's a good look for them there. And they're going to a 3-4 defense. So there's a little bit of they do have a little bit of cloud above this team, and it's probably hurt them down the road. Is they have some recruiting violations that they are dealing with still. So depth might be a problem for them. Scholarships and stuff like that going forward. I don't know how much longer they have to deal with it, but. I know it's affected their recruiting just a little bit. So other than that, they are in the SEC. Like I say, 1-7 last year in conference. Tough look there. What do you think about this team going forward?
Well, this is another tell of the tape again where you got a team that last year they were high on offense. They played horrible on defense. They gave up 36 points a game on defense. They scored 33 points a game on offense. That's definitely a recipe for failure right there. But like you said, they brought in the new defensive coordinator. They brought in a couple new players. They returned a lot on defense. They also got this outside linebacker, Sam Williams, number 13. He's a junior college transfer right there. This team is something, and again, you got to start looking at the biases of the line setters. And they're going to look at this team as a team that's going to give up a lot of points. And when you're looking at it, last week's game, the proof was in the pudding. They only gave up 15 points to this Memphis team that was really, really, really active and really getting after them. This Memphis team is going to be something nice coming into the season. But this Ole Miss defense showed up for the occasion. 15-10, I'll take that all day, considering they were giving up as many points as they did last year to open up against a team like Memphis, who has a lot of good athletes, and slow them down like that, that's saying a lot. So, hey, word to my guy Noli Knows and the Dom himself, the under. Should be in play with Mississippi, at least for the first few games, once again, till the market gets adjusted. Now, they do play Arkansas next, Southeast Louisiana, they play Cal, and then September 28th, they play Alabama. So they should be upset after the loss. They should really get after Arkansas. And if they don't make it past Arkansas, Southeast Louisiana is a lock. And they should focus up, depending on how good Cal is this year. They may get that win against Cal right before Alabama, which would be the type of fuel that they'll need to have a shot at beating Alabama.
Yeah. I like those looks you're putting out right there, especially that Arkansas game, because we didn't talk about Arkansas yet, but when we do, you'll put 2 and 2 together, and it might be looking towards a UNDA under.
Under. Let's take a look and see if I can't get no totals right now, but let me see if I can get a line. Arkansas, Mississippi next week. Mississippi -7. That might be something you want to take. It's not like they don't have no offense. They did have an offense, even though the quarterback position, they got a freshman over there. That can be some problems, but they got a decent line that showed up, and they got a running back behind them. So maybe like a low-scoring win and cover the 7, maybe like a 21-10 or something like that.
What's the they show a total on that yet?
Nah, they don't give us no totals.
Yeah, it's too early. Yeah, it's too early. You probably like Wednesday you'll get something to look at. But yeah, that's the first look for everybody that's watching or is going to see this probably next day or two. So
yeah, and that 7 is probably going to go up to 7.5 or something like that. I expect it to go up. But I think they could get a 10-point win against Arkansas. But we'll see. Got more time this week to study. I'll take another look at it. I'll go a little more in depth with Arkansas. But I don't know what to expect out of this Ole Miss team. One thing we know is they've had a proven past to cause problems to some of the big teams in the SEC. And with a defense this year, they could shock a lot of them. So we'll see what happens.
That's definitely going to be on the improve because they were, like I say, they were ranked. They were ranked over 100, dead last in the SEC in defense. So, like you said, there might be some value there because the lines makers might look at that and say, hey, until they start early in the season, they'll adjust it out, though, once they get, 3-4 games under their belt. But they might be a good look against maybe some unders here, like you said.
Yep. Well, we're coming up on an hour, and we just went through the West right here. So let's take this last team in the West. And we gonna call it a wrap for this session, and then we're gonna come right back at you with the East. So last team right here is that indeed, which we just spoke of,
right?
Arkansas. So Arkansas, let's take a look at them now. This Arkansas team has a first year coach Chad Morris over here.
Second year.
Oh yeah, this is second year. Yeah, this magazine always throws me off. But his first year, he was 2-10. So he didn't do well last year. He's back at it this year. As we've seen from this week, coaches like Chip Kelly, the second year, it's a rough one. The organization still has to give you like a pass to try to get your athletes on the field and get your system implemented. But you expect them to come out with a little pop. But this team right here, I don't know. They might be headed back to destruction once again this year. They're returning 6 on offense, 6 on defense. They got a senior quarterback, but he's new on the squad. He's going to be first time starting senior, so that can have some type of impact to how well they play. And I don't know. Schedule looks fairly decent. Opened up against Portland State. They got Ole Miss next. They got to see Colorado State and San Jose State. It look like they're trying to make their way to the Mountain West, huh? And then they got a rough spot right here where they see this is Texas A&M in Arlington, Texas, then at Kentucky, then Auburn, then at Alabama, and then Mississippi State. And game before last, they got to see LSU at LSU. So no signs of letting up anywhere for this team right here. Portland State was probably the best gift they could have had. But I don't know. Look at, and then in the SEC, it's plain and simple. They got a top half of the division. They got a bottom half of the division. They don't really have a middle, and I don't see no room for this team even having a good season and becoming a middle. I'm just totally against them.
Yeah, they got some issues on offense. That's for sure. They were like almost dead last in scoring. They were dead last in scoring and dead second to last in pass, second to last in total offense. And then defensively speaking, they were like bottom tier team also. But they get like you said, they get the former quarterback from SMU, quarterback Ben Hicks. He'll get the nod. A team that was dead last, like I say, 21 points a game overall. I mean, if you want to put a positive spin on it, there's nowhere but up for this team, right? So second-year coach, so maybe they get a little improved, but the schedule's not going to help them. Maybe early on, Portland State, then like we just talked about Ole Miss, they got to play them, so that might be a tough look. Maybe a good underplay there. Then they get Colorado State, San Jose State, then A&M. So it's going to be early on, if they don't get anything going early on, it's going to be tough sledding the rest of the way for this squad. Then defensively speaking, they want to bring some pressure, with a good core linebackers. Actually, the defense is always a little ahead of the offense, like we like to say that. So hopefully that pans out for them there. Maybe next week we'll find out. And, they're going to have to take some little steps forward, not a big giant step. And they got an outside chance, if anything, maybe to catch a bowl, not a bowl, but maybe a 5-7. You know how these teams are getting to bowls going 5-7. If that happens, that's your only shot, because all their wins I see are going to come out of conference, if any. So they're going to probably they got a Western Kentucky late in the season, and they got these 3 or 4 out of conference games early. Not much is going to happen for them in conference, because they got all the teams they got to play in conference. They're going to be tough wins for them. They got to finish up at Missouri or versus Missouri, and then they got to play that in Little Rock. That's an out of conference. It's a conference game, but it's not a home game for them. Then they got to play, like you say, they got to play Arlington, Texas. They got to play A&M, and they got to play Kentucky, Auburn, and Alabama, and Mississippi State. So we'll see what happens, my man. I'm not too high on what's going to be the look for this team. Just it's going to be a rebuild mode, rebuild year. So I'm gonna say if they get they got some of these guys got them 5-7, 1-7 in conference. I'm thinking maybe more like 4 wins overall in total. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't even see that. I mean, San Jose State, like you said, you got to just look at the out of conference games. Colorado State, they're hungry. They're going to beat them. San Jose State is a new and improved team, but San Jose State on the road is horrible. They may slide past on that one. And then Western Kentucky is a pretty bad team, but they'll give a team like them a run for their money. So maybe another two wins.
Wow.
If they get a good upset, in the conference, which probably won't happen because they're just so far behind in this conference that if they get a lucky upset, that'll give them 3. But They barely beat Portland State. I mean, that's Portland State.
Wow.
The Portland State 2013 Portland State. You know, I can't put no approval on this team. And one of the things we heard from Teddy this morning about college football is don't bet on bad teams. So this is a team that you definitely wouldn't want to bet on at no point of the season right here. So I don't know. That's about all I have on this team right here. Much luck to them. But,
Yeah.
Just a bottom tier SEC, and then in an argumentative fashion to those who out there who would say that SEC is the best conference, yada yada yada. This is a point that people on the other side have is about the bottom tier just being so bad, and
Falls up quick.
yeah, it's a real bad look, and it's not like Arkansas was not competitive in the past years. Like it has some good teams.
Yeah.
How do you go from a football legacy like Arkansas to end up with a 2-win season? Like, you know, that's pretty bad. Like, you know, I'm a Notre Dame fan, and we've been there before. We had a bad season, but you know, we bounced back. And I don't see no room to even bounce back on this squad right here. They barely beat Portland State. So
yeah, we shall see what it brings. Like you say, maybe I was being generous to give them 4 wins. Who knows? But we'll see. Come next week when they got to take on Ole Miss, that'll be a good telltale sign for conference play for these guys.
Absolutely, and I'm already leaning Ole Miss on that one. But you heard it right here first, y'all. Right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. We are live every Thursday, 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. Come see us. Come check on us. Just come check on us and see how we survive it. Because there's a lot of work that's put into this. I'm usually used to capping maybe five games. Like if I'm really like feeling myself, maybe 7 games for the week, for the whole week of college football. And right here with all the stuff we got going on, I find myself capping a solid 10, 12 games. But it's fun. It's what I love to do. I'm honored to be a person that all you guys, you know, recognize and show a lot of love, and you know, you communicate with me. I appreciate that, and I'm even more pleasure and honored to be on the show with a guy like the Sauce right here. Awesome guy, awesome capper.
Much respect and love both ways, my man. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street here, so we get along good. We great minds think alike. You know, we like to go up against each other. That's without question. But mutual respect. We do what we do because we love what we do, and it's like I say. Thanks to everybody in the chat and watching the shows, and we continue to do what we do because we love to do what we do.
Absolutely. And guess what, BigRagoo?
I'm gonna see you at the window.
And I'll see you at the window. That's all the right. Boss and the Sauce Show, and we out of here.
Have a good week, guys.